going to click to record. Yes, the light is red, so that's good. Hello, cat. Welcome to The Sound or Music, where we dive deep into the audiophile world of music, sound, and anything in between. I'm David Jones.
And I'm Mick Jones. In each episode, we explore our experience in high-fidelity audio through music, movies, or just about anything that involves high-quality sound.
There's also gear and tech talk, interviews, and special guests.
So plug in, sit back, and hear us out. Well, hello, and welcome to this episode of The Sound or Music. I am your faithful co-host, Mick Jones, here with my fearless leader, David Jones. Is it David or Davey today? Or
today is David.
Okay.
Today is David. So what's going on, man? How are you?
Good, man. Well, tell you, we just listened to something I was really excited to have you listen to, which was my new super deluxe edition of Who's Next?
Right.
By The Loom.
Yes.
And another great Steven Wilson effort on the remix. And I really liked that, listening to that with you. Like, we just did Bob O'Reilly and Bargain. And went through the 5.1 mix and some of the stereo stuff and sort of talked a little bit about that, but that's not what we're talking about today. I know we're going to be talking about movies. And I said part of why I love surround music is that it's kind of like music's a soundtrack to my life. So why not have it like a movie mix, and have it envelop you and be in the center of it and have it be spatial and surround. And so that's always been something for the last 15 years or so that I've just loved and taken on as a side hobby, to listen to that. I still, my 2 channels, still my main system, my 2.1, but my 5.1 gets a lot of use with movies. And I know today we were going to talk about movies, so I thought maybe that's a nice little lead into today's topic.
That's a great lead. And then let's talk about movie soundtracks. Let's talk about sound design, because this is, after all, the sound or music. And, we're going to talk about sound and music today. And we've sort of cobbled together a list that we're going to talk about throughout the show tonight about, soundtracks that are either we love or they stuck out for some reason, or they just made an impact for us in our lives somehow, some way. I mean, maybe the soundtrack is better than the movie. Who knows? I think that's probably one example that I have will satisfy that. But enough of my yapping. Why don't you start us off? Tell us what's on your list.
Well, it's funny you mentioned, maybe a score or a soundtrack that's better than the movie itself. This is going to be an unpopular and controversial opinion, but, I live for that. So I did not care for the movie Oppenheimer. I did not really care for it. I thought it was a bit of a bore. I thought it was brilliantly marketed, brilliantly hyped. I just see Matt Damon in that silly military uniform, and it just really kind of depresses me thinking about it, to be honest with you. Sorry, Matt, I love you, but not today. But I loved the score.
Interesting.
I thought the music in there was really top notch. Now, was that because I just had to occupy my time for the 7 hours of the movie? Like, while with the sound, I said, well, this is a lost cause, so let me just go and listen to, were my eyes closed during it? I don't think so, but my ears were certainly open. And that was, forgive me if I'm saying the name wrong, but Ludwig Göransson.
Okay.
And kudos, because I do think it was a really masterful soundtrack that really stuck out to me more than the movie did.
Yeah, the movie was dreadful.
Yeah.
The movie was flat out dreadful. As you said, it's just so boring. It's like you're taking this like incredibly intense story and you just water it down. I guess I got so frustrated that I not only just ignored what was being shown to me, but I guess I stopped listening too. But I think I paid attention to the sound design a bit, but not necessarily to the score. What I'm not going to do is sit down and watch the movie again. But what I will do is I will certainly go to Tidal and bring up the soundtrack and listen to it again, because it is something that is probably worth revisiting. So Oppenheimer, okay.
Yeah. And, Nolan in general, I mean, I do love a lot of the sound design and music in his those big, ominous pads and blasts and things. Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
But again, so I want to get something fairly recent that
Okay.
that did it. I have another one though, because I have a few different categories here, right? So there's like original score, but then there's so many great soundtracks that use pre-existing music.
Sure. Yeah.
And I know that's going to factor into one of your favorites, which you were going to talk about in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But like I loved Civil War for that reason.
Sure. Okay.
Because, you know, Silver Apples, Suicide,
Mm-hmm.
De La Soul, Skid Row even.
Wow, I'm gonna look that up. Let me,
I was so thrilled to hear some of that music because I went in there knowing nothing about it.
uh-huh.
And I was just so joyful that they were using that music. And actually, which has similarities, some of it, like the Suicide especially, is reminiscent of another favorite movie of mine in terms of the soundtrack using pre-existing music, which is William Friedkin's very controversial 1980 film Cruising with Al Pacino.
Al Pacino, absolutely.
An undercover cop who is trying to find a serial killer who is stalking the gay clubs of the West Village and the you know, the parks, Riverside Park or Morningside, and killing all these gay men very violently. And again, there's suicide in there, and there's a lot of really great like no wave New York City, no wave, really edgy stuff, that gray area between like punk and new wave and electronica and stuff. So so I've always loved that movie.
It's an interesting connection that you're making. I don't think anybody in history has made a connection between the Civil War and Cruising.
Well, maybe we'll just won't look too deep under the surface there with that, because you know, obviously understandable that Friedkin defended the film, said it was very true to life and his experience, but it obviously, you know, was used to bash, you know, more cultural gay bashing at the time and stuff. So kind of the last thing, you know, that community needed or anybody needs at any time.
Well, sure.
But I do just, if I just look at it as a crime, a thriller with great music, you know, like I'm all over it. I love that movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, that's I can't say that it was my favorite William Friedkin or Al Pacino movie. You're turning me on back onto Cruising.
Okay.
Which is a sentence that taken out of context is probably not what my wife wants to hear. But Civil War, that's yeah, I'm looking at the soundtrack. That's they've got some deep cuts in there. All right, so I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon here. My pick for a soundtrack is not controversial in the least. I'm talking Clockwork Orange.
All right.
Now with Clockwork Orange, it's a tough watch. You know, I don't think anybody's going to
no doubt,
you know, say that that's controversial. But I'm also just a huge Beethoven fan, and I really like what they did with the soundtrack, where was it a lot of the Beethoven pieces were adapted by an electronic musician, Wendy Carlos.
Yep.
And it really kind of brings this like quasi futuristic feel to it, which is what the movie was trying to do. But, you know, when you listen to it now, it feels dated, but it still has an impact, you know, and it fits perfectly well with the visuals that they were giving in this. Is, you know, sort of this dystopian sort of weird future where styles were kind of garish. So I think the sound had to accompany that. And it really, for me, it was like, wow, this is like kind of, you know, really cool, because they're moving forward, but at the same time, it is kind of frozen in time as aesthetically, both visually and as for sound. It was great. So using like the Ninth Symphony, for example, which is, you know, a glorious piece of music, to emphasize the torture aspect in the end, it was just a great combination, you know. And I think Kubrick was sort of dead against finding a composer to write a soundtrack, because it's like, well, you're not going to get better than Beethoven.
Right.
You're not going to get better than Beethoven. So that's what we're going to use. And so he used it, and then obviously, had Wendy Carlos do some adaptation. So Clockwork Orange.
Excellent choice. I agree. I mean, there's so many out there that none of this list is exhaustive. It's not even scratching the surface, really, but just bringing out some different ones that may have been in our minds lately. And of course, talking about Kubrick, then you're talking about his adaptation of some other great classical music. Not adaptation, but use of.
Yeah, like in 2001, for example.
There you go.
Blue Danube.
Ligeti, the
Yeah.
vocals, atmospheres.
Atmospheres, yes.
Just chilling, amazing.
Which was freaking frightening.
Yeah.
Frightening music for me, because I remember back in like 7th grade, okay, music class, we had this really cool music teacher, and he wanted us to really like feel the music. We're like, okay, cool. So he pulled out the stereo, shut off the lights, and turned on Ligeti.
Mm.
And I think it was Atmospheres. Completely dark. Here I am, this, anxious little 13-year-old, terrified. Terrified. Because, the sound of it, the dissonance, the volume of it, just everything about it scared the hell out of me.
Oh, absolutely. It still gives me chills
Sure.
to this day. I actually just turned my son onto it about a few months ago, and he blew his mind. But I do want to clarify something you said. For younger viewers, you mentioned something about music class. Yes,
Yeah.
dear listener, they used to actually teach music in a lot of schools, most schools in the country.
Yeah.
And I think any of us who were lucky enough to get that education as I did, we are far better off and richer for it in every area of our life.
100%.
It doesn't matter if you become a professional recorder player or not.
Right.
What matters is that exposure, that going outside of your comfort zone into something that's so communal and joyous, and for all the same reasons that we love music, to actually learn about music, is something that will stick with you your whole life. And it's a terrible tragedy that all that's being cut out in the name of
Lacrosse.
profits and sports.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to clear that up because they might be like, what? Music class? What
the hell are they talking about? Another point I wanted to make before we took a break here about 2001 is where there isn't any soundtrack, where there is silence.
Yes.
And specifically in that one piece where he's just floating out in space.
Dave.
And he's like trying to get back in, and all you hear, the only thing that you hear is his voice and also the respirator.
Yeah.
That's it. That that kind of Darth Vader sound I just did. Like, that's it. And that's all you hear for like 15 minutes. And it's so, he could have done so much. He could have, done the trilly strings. He could have had, low, subwoofer. He could have really like built it up. But instead, he took all that shit away and just left the sound effect.
You mean you could have made it like a Chris Nolan film?
Well, sure. Dun. So it's a really great example of when not to do something, when to give the audience less in order to make a greater impact, and I think that was a solid move on his part.
Oh, I think for me that is probably my OG, my number one all-time movie and soundtrack and sound design, and the silence is probably a third of my love for this. Well, in terms of all the other things to love about it, the silence is a huge part of my appreciation for that film, how effectively it's used. And with that, we'll get silent.
Yes, we're going to go silent for just a few seconds here, and we will be right back. All right, welcome back to The Sound or Music. I am David Jones.
And I am Mick Jones.
And we are talking today about movie soundtracks, maybe some music sound design, music mixing, whatever, the sound part of movies. I've got another one here, Mick.
Okay.
It's a film from the 80s, and it looks and sounds it. 1987. It's called Prince of Darkness, from John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. The soundtrack on that, it is super creepy and really effective and kind of like minimalist in a way. If you listen to it, it really is something else. It doesn't try to accelerate the drama at all. It's just like this like low pulsating synthetic soundtrack. And it's really, in my opinion, really effective. I saw this film in the theaters at the time, and I wasn't all that engaged with it except for the soundtrack. And Alan Howarth should be mentioned as well, because he basically did the music. I mean, it was John Carpenter and Alan Howarth. He did a ton of films. He did Escape from New York, Halloween 2 and 3, Christine, Big Trouble in Little China. Yes. Yeah. They Live. Yeah. I mean, this guy's been around the block. He did sound design for Star Trek movies, all the Star Trek movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Poltergeist. I mean, this guy's a baller. But he apparently, Howarth apparently pioneered immersive multi-channel surround sound systems with Stephen Taylor's Dimension Audio that also included the early prototype 48.4 systems now known as Dolby Atmos.
Yes.
So this guy, got shout out to Alan Howarth.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you.
I like the fact that he's a musician, but also, on the technical side, he's a baller.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you do watch it, yes, it's dated, but I don't care.
No.
Because it's effective and it works. It brings this tone to a film that visually at the beginning, it's all sort of bright and cheery and all that. But it brings this darkness to the film right away that says, okay, something unsettling is happening here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm love John Carpenter. I got to see him play his soundtrack music with his son.
Wow.
Some years back at the Sony PlayStation Theater in New York.
Wow.
I went with some friends, and absolutely amazing. It was such an honor and a treat to see that. And he went through all those, played all that. Yeah. And yeah, the opening of Prince of Darkness, I mean, if you just had it with the muted, you would think like, is this a rom-com? Is this is this a toothpaste commercial from the 80s?
Right,
like, what is this?
Right.
And then that comes in, and it's very much in that, like, it's like Jaws.
Yeah.
It's like the shark coming. It's like, it has that like, dun, 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 it's just ominous, but it's pulsating. And he's just so good at that, Jenna and setting that mood. And I love John Carpenter's films. I love his music.
I just love the fact that he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna make the movies that I make. So yeah, Prince of Darkness, one of his lesser known films, but nonetheless effective. And hey, you know what? If nothing else, check out the soundtrack. It's available on Tidal. I'm sure it's on Qobuz or something like that. It sets a mood. My wife was like, "What the hell? Are you like preparing to murder us all? What's going on with this?" And I said, I'm not going to murder you. This is a soundtrack. Everybody just relax.
All right.
All right. So what else you got?
Well, so I go back. One of my little hobby horses is the sorry state of sound mixing for most movies.
Okay.
It's just, I know I'm like in get off my lawn mode or whatever, but like, they say the exception that proves the rule, right? So like, you just get resigned to it. And this has been years. This is nothing new. And yes, it happens with some of my favorite filmmakers like Chris Nolan and all kinds of...
I was just going to mention him.
Other ones. Yeah. I mean, he's one of the worst offenders, but I still love his movies. So it's not like a deal breaker for me. But when I hear something that goes the other way, back to what I think is almost an ideal kind of like balance of sound and soundtrack and sound design and dialogue and everything else. It's so rare to me now that I actually like jump up and take notice. And that's what happened when I first saw the movie Red with Bruce Willis.
Wow.
I think this soundtrack was done by Christophe Beck, a Quebecois, I believe, who has scored a lot of great movies, done some Marvel work and a lot. He's had a terrific career. And but so I don't really know exactly who to credit because it's the entire mix of the movie.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people involved in the sound side of it. Who had the absolute final? Is it the director? Did he defer more to the composer? You don't really know. And success has many what they say, success has many fathers and failure is always an orphan, right? So I just want to thank all of them because I think what they put out, it is such a beautiful sounding movie.
Really?
It's not breaking any great ground or anything like that, but sort of in the way that you talked about John and Alan's Prince of Darkness music as setting that mood. There is something like this low, bassy kind of like liquid, throbbing, sinewy undertone to the music that Beck did that I just love. Christoph Beck, not Beck, the artist Beck, the one name Beck. Yep. Did that. I just love listening to it. And I have put on that movie many times purely just to hear the mix again.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, I'm like that.
Wow. No, well, look, dude, I think anybody who's listening to this is going to be guilty of exactly the same thing.
And it's a very personal choice, and other people may hold their nose. Of course, that's why we talk about this, because nobody on the internet has an opinion about anything, which is why we started this podcast. Right. So exactly. Like, someone needs to have an opinion online. What is this? Everybody agrees about everything.
Right.
So here we are to really, like, change the paradigm, man.
Well, that's what we have to do. I'm looking at Christoph Beck's Wikipedia page. This guy's, he did a soundtrack for the Muppets, the 2011 Muppets. Yeah,
that was pretty good.
He did a soundtrack for Frozen 2, Ant-Man. Yeah, so this guy's, he's a what do they call him? A journeyman?
Yeah, he's a pro, and he's successful and got
The Hangover.
Yeah, but so what I haven't done is go back and do some comparative listening to if all his films kind of get a sort of a Christoph Beck kind of like halo over them. If it has to do with his composition as well, how it invites the ultimate, if it affects the ultimate mix. I mean, that's the type of question I would love to be able to get someone like that on a show and actually talk to him, on a pod here. But for now, we can just dare to dream. And in the meanwhile, Christoph Beck, my hat is off to you, or my chapeau, if you are.
I think it's really cool that you're picking films that may have flown under the radar, like this film here. Red. A.O. Scott from the New York Times said it is possible to have a good time at Red, but it's not a very good movie. And it doesn't really try to be. And given the present state of the Hollywood economy, this may be a wise choice. Ken Turan of LA Times, it's not that it doesn't have effective moments, it's that it just doesn't have as many as it thinks it does. The film's inescapable air of glib self-satisfaction is not only unearned, it's downright irritating. But
that's music.
But the mix is outstanding.
Does he say that?
No. Oh, but you got to give it something.
You see, I love that movie, and it's not only because of the sound. It is just a guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. I mean, look, it grossed $200 million worldwide, and it got nominated for a Golden Globe, Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy. Yeah, man, I'll give it a spin. I mean, look, it's got Brian Cox in it.
John Malkovich, Mary Louise Parker, and I think her chemistry with Bruce Willis is adorable and hilarious.
Brian Cox, I will see in literally anything. All right, so moving forward, I got one for you.
Okay.
Because you know how much I love the Coens.
Oh, yeah.
The Coen brothers. Miller's Crossing. Miller's Crossing.
Never saw it.
I can't.
I know. Just another reason it
just puts a dagger in my heart.
I know.
It just absolutely puts a dagger in my heart. It's so good. It's a gangster film that you need to see it a few times in order to get it, because if you're not paying...
Are you saying I'm stupid?
Not directly. I'm not directly calling you stupid.
Does my mouth move when I read?
But anyway.
How dare you, sir?
How dare you? Basically, if you miss the first 5 minutes of the film, you're going to be lost. But anyway, the music in Miller's Crossing is outstanding. And the music is by Carter Burwell.
Oh,
who is a consistent collaborator with the Coens. He nails it every single time. And if you haven't heard, you know what? We're going to take a quick break. You're going to listen to the opening credits for the Miller's Crossing. And you know what? We're going to be right back.
Unless I'm too stupid to understand it.
It's possible. So we're back. What'd you think? You watched the beginning of Miller's Crossing and then the Danny Boy scene. If you haven't seen Miller's Crossing, it's a scene that is damn near perfect. Damn near perfect. Tell me, what did you think when you watched that?
Well, it's one of those where again the juxtaposition is so great and kind of horrifying or shocking or whatever. I was thinking you brought up Clockwork Orange originally. They'd use that to great effect, or in the Blue Danube Bus, like you said in 2001, where you take a pre-existing piece of music and then you fuse it again with these incredible visuals and this dramatic tension and in this case guns and blazing and fires and everything, and it just wow, it's unforgettable. It just amplifies the whole experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every time I hear Danny Boy now, I think of Albert Finney just roasting people with the Tommy gun. What I love, and this is like kind of where I geek out a little bit. The music starts off as diegetic and then becomes extra diegetic, and what that means is when it's diegetic, it is in the scene. So when we first start off hearing it, it's being played out of the Victrola. It's being played out of the phonograph, and you hear it. It sounds like it's coming out of a phonograph. And in fact, they sell it by doing that, like that shot, that traveling shot of the Victrola on the bedside of Albert Finney. And then they pull out and you see the whole thing, and you hear it. It's kind of tinny, and so it's like in the scene. You hear it as what is called diegetic. So it's in the scene. Then you cut away to the assassins walking up the steps, and the music goes down.
Right.
It goes down. It goes very, very, very quiet. And then when it's back in the bedroom, it goes. So it's a practical sound effect at that point.
Right.
But then once the fighting starts and once the guns start going off, it becomes extra diegetic. It's no longer part of the scene itself.
It becomes soundtrack, or
it becomes a soundtrack. And it was just such a cool thing to do. And honestly, a lot of films do it. But it was done with such great effect in this film that it was seamless and beautiful and perfect. And it just nailed it for me. I mean, hats off to the sound design as well. Skip Leavesey, I believe, worked on it. I believe he was the sound designer. He works with the Coens, all the time, and I'm hoping to get him as a guest on our show because the sound design is so natural, but at the same time, while you don't notice it, if you took it away, you would be like, wait a minute, this isn't right. And so he really like just works within that boundary of making it natural, but also applying some like interesting, unexpected sounds. Like in the beginning, the very first scene, when there's silence in the dialogue, you hear some like howling or something in the background.
I didn't know
it's very, very, very quiet. It's buried in that mix, but it's there. And if it wasn't there, you would be like, okay, this is feeling a little stilted. But the fact that, you hear the clink of the ice, you hear the whiskey in the glass, but then you also hear deep in that background, you hear some sort of like cityscape sound. And it's just incredible, absolutely incredible. And the score written by Carter Burwell, love Carter Burwell. Like I say, he's done a ton of stuff with the Coens. But what I saw most recently was the Banshees of Inisherin. And he did the score for that. And it was funny because I love that movie. I went in with no expectations whatsoever. Loved it, loved the film. But I was like, man, that score, as I'm watching it, I'm like, this has got, a Carter Burwell kind of feel. And sure enough, yes, it was Carter Burwell. Absolutely incredible.
Well, I can't wait. I got it queued up now, and I will be watching that in the next day or two. And thank you for that recommendation. I can't believe I love the Coen brothers, but again, I haven't seen all the movies of all the directors and writers I love. But you mentioned something though when you're talking about sound design, and we talked about this previously earlier in the past over the past year, and that was a movie you saw before I did. I planned on seeing it, but you really jazzed me up to see it because of the sound design specifically, and that was The Zone of Interest.
Yep, absolutely, 100%.
Which,
100%.
as you said, the sound is another character in the film. I won't say anything in case you haven't seen it. It's worth seeing, but and it's not. I don't want to say it's not subtle because that makes it sound almost like trite or something. But I mean, you can't like. I was listening, saying like, okay, when am I gonna like? Will I miss it or will I get it? You won't miss it. Like you won't miss it.
Right.
It's an important part of the story.
Yes.
Is the sound design, and you won't miss it. And it'll be with you and it'll stay with you long after you've seen the movie.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Zone of Interest because as a film that has an impact on the viewer, there was very few films that impacted me the way this did. A friend of mine who's a film director out in California, we met up in Las Vegas for like a guys' weekend, and we were chatting, and it was like, oh, what did you watch on the flight over? And I said, oh yeah, I watched some Will Ferrell movie. I said, well, okay, so what did you watch? She's like, oh yeah, I watched The Zone of Interest. I'm like, that is the least airplane movie I can think of. Like, are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind? And it's a 1-hour flight from LA to Vegas. So it's like you're watching The Zone of Interest, one of the most compelling films ever made, and you're only watching it for an hour on a goddamn airplane. Okay, what'd you think? And he was like, yeah, it was heavy. It was heavy. You need to be in the right set and setting to watch that film. Luckily, I was able to watch it at home on the big screen with the good speakers, with the subwoofer, and it delivered such an impact in that environment. I was completely floored.
Yeah.
Completely floored. Simply because like the sound design was so terrifying, and yet the visuals were so kind of, I wouldn't say drab, but they
mundane,
mundane,
just
just anodyne, whatever SAT word you want to throw at it. It was startling, absolutely startling how affected I was just simply by the sound of that movie. I mean, Jonathan Glazer, my hat's off to him because he absolutely nailed it. He did that movie Under the Skin. Do you remember that movie? Science fiction, Scarlett Johansson.
Yes, where she's like, like an alien.
She's like an alien, yeah. And it was like,
I never finished it.
It's worth seeing again. It was a small movie, relatively low budget. I think it was like a $13 million budget or something like that. But it's worth checking out. Yeah, the soundtrack was actually really cool. Mika Levy did the sound for that, and she's known for like experimental noise pop, electronic, so she's has this sort of avant-garde-ness to her work. And so the fact that she was kind of picked to work on this film is actually really really kind of cool. So Under the Skin.
Okay, I'll give it another try. I remember it just wasn't the day for me to be watching that. Wasn't in the right head. Before we go off this or go till next time, I want to ask, there's another movie, it's sticking in my head that I think I remember really loving the sound for. So I'm not going to go out on any limb and say, but I'm asking you in case you've seen or and that was Super 8. J.J.
Abrams. I
seem to remember that really being impressed by some of the sound design and that, but I don't remember for sure if I did or maybe I hated it. And I mean, J.J. Abrams films in general, I love with the Star Trek reboots, and I love the sound in that. And I do like his films, how they sound generally.
Sure.
Again, with the same caveats that a little too loud here, maybe a little too low here, maybe not quite as organic or holistically kind of balanced as I would like.
Right.
Not because I'm an old man and I don't like things loud. I love things loud, but just that it throws things out of whack. And to me, it jars. It takes you out of the movie experience when the sound is not mixed.
Well, yeah. With guys like you and me, yes, I think that would be a distraction.
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. So I think I remember Super 8, Michael Giacchino, Abrams' longtime collaborator. It won the 2012 Saturn Award for Best Music. And I seem to remember when I think of that movie, that's one of those I think of sound first. And I enjoyed it, I think, a lot because if I'm remembering correctly, the sound was good. But I'm going to go back and maybe at a future installment when we're talking about more movie sound.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have an update on that for you.
Okay. Well, just pulling up Michael Giacchino's, I think that's how you say it, Giacchino. Just bringing up his Wikipedia page. I knew I recognized his name from somewhere because he did the score for The Batman, which was I thought really good.
There you go.
Really good. I mean, just in terms of like tone, instrumentation,
with Robert Twilight.
yes, with Robert Twilight.
With Robert Sparkle Skin Addison.
He was good in it. You know, I thought
he's good. The Lighthouse, he was awesome. Did you see The Lighthouse?
I did. Yeah. I can't say that was my favorite Eggers movie. I think that was a turning point for him as an actor, being able to say like, hey, you know, I can actually act, guys. I'm not just this, you know, pretty face.
Absolutely. I thought of that the other day when I was thinking of like where would Woody Harrelson have ended up without Natural Born Killers?
Right. Yeah.
Because he was like America's boy next door. Yeah. He was like the cute little boy from Cheers, he was in
he did White Men Can't Jump.
Right. That was good out of type, whatever. But still, he just was. But then he went loco, you know, and he really went dark. And I do love when actors get out of there.
Sure.
Although going from a vampire to a bat isn't really not that much because there's vampire bats. So.
The true, I guess on that.
And I would have liked the Batman to have kind of sparkly skin, have some like bedazzle on his costume would have been really nice. But no. Kudos to Robert. Did a great job in that.
I thought the Batman, just in terms of its tone and its look and its feel, all of those kind of tactile things were terrific. I didn't think it was a great movie, like overall.
He said that, yeah. That third act, though, man, ugh.
But but I do think that the score was next level. I kind of casually listened to it, you know, when I'm like driving in the car.
Wow, you're just a barrel of laughs.
I know I am. Exactly.
Take Jackie O's advice. Never let too much light into the kingdom, my man. You know, you want to have those personal, private moments listening to the score of the Batman in your Volvo as you're driving to the Piggly Wiggly in downtown Connecticut there. I mean,
exactly.
Hey, no, I do the same thing, man.
But Super 8, going back to your point, I do remember the sound being pretty incredible. I kind of categorize it as you know, a popcorn movie, where it does need to be over the top. It does need to be big and, you know, get that subwoofer moving. It delivered on the promise, you know, 100%. It just delivered on the promise of what it was. And I wouldn't say it was, you know, a work of art like The Zone of Interest, but if you were to, you know, launch a space probe and put a bunch of DVDs in there of like Hollywood movies, Super 8 would absolutely be one of them. You know, just like here's an example of what we do to entertain ourselves.
Right.
And, you know, Super 8, it's like, yeah, sure. You know, why not? Cloverfield was another film that really relied on sound design as well.
Yeah.
Taking another, I believe that was J.J. Abrams. Yes, Cloverfield. He nailed it. Yeah, it was incredible. Let's start wrapping this up. What are you going to do tonight? What's your what's on your agenda?
I'm not going to be doing anything much outside tonight, so I think I will be probably watching Miller's Crossing.
Hell
probably. Yeah. And I just want to say too, like, you know, it's such a big subject, and we're just two little mortal podcasters, right?
I wouldn't even say mortal.
Going down the stream of life. I know, like semi-mortal, semi-alive. You know, there's so much to think about. Like, and I didn't really, you know, we talked about certain sound from the sound aspect, but we haven't even touched on like, okay, the actual scoring.
Yeah.
You know, like the drilling down into actual like scenes and pieces of music, like original music and different composers. I mean, it's such a huge, people devote their whole lives to these topics, you know, even just subsections of these topics, you know, so it's certainly a fun topic for me, that because, you know, movies is such an important way how I consume sound and listen to it and critique it.
Yeah.
and enjoy songs and pre-existing. Now that MTV, stopped doing videos all those years ago, and it just became reality TV. We used to just watch music videos growing up, and now it's sort of the place of movies to kind of replace some of that, I think, for us to associate really killer visuals with great sound.
All right, guys. That's all we got for today. Be sure to tune in for the next podcast. I'm not sure what it's going to be about, but we'll see. Thanks for listening.
That wraps up this episode of The Sound or Music. Thanks for tuning in and indulging us. Remember, it's all about enjoying sound that moves you.
If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe and share with your fellow audiophiles. Until next time, keep your ears open and clean your damn records.